You know that thing, a syzygy, when all the planets align in this special way and it only happens every trillion years or something? That's what happened with West Side Story. These four authors were so insanely gifted and full of energy, very young. My father was a classically trained musician. Jerome Robbins was a classically trained ballet dancer. And Arthur Lawrence, who wrote the book, was bringing all of his literary background to what he was doing. And Stephen Sondheim also was an extremely high-powered intellectual. In the case of my dad, he spent his whole life, starting in his childhood, listening to the radio and loving all the pop music that he heard and being completely obsessed with every kind of music he ever heard. So in West Side Story, you can hear his love of jazz, you can hear his love for popular music, you can hear vaudeville in there. Hey, Officer Krupke is total vaudeville. But Cool is total bebop jazz. So much of the score sounds like Stravinsky and Prokofiev. He would take these little building blocks, little tunes or phrases, and use them all the way through. So for example, the very first notes in West Side Story are ba-da-bum. Those three notes are actually the key to the entire West Side Story score. And he weaves them through, he uses them as building blocks. And you can hear them in boy, boy, crazy boy, ba-ba-ba. It's just an anagram of ba-ba-ba. But no one had ever written a Broadway show that way before. Jerome Robbins used his classical ballet training in the way that he approached choreographing West Side Story. What he had those dancers do was so beyond the average Broadway dancer's normal training and ability that he had to really push them. But those dancers had to also be able to sing and also be able to act. The old triple threat Broadway performer. I do know that Arthur Lawrence made up a lot of lingo, and that's one of the many reasons why it's hard to do an updated version of West Side Story, and the authors don't even permit it. He used the elements of beatnik talk. Cool is, of course, the original beat word. He made up funny words for them, like rig-a-dig-a-dum, that were just stuff he made up. So it gives it its own special language. So Sondheim's approach to writing the lyrics, he used a lot of what was already in Arthur Lawrence's book, and he always talked about how generous Arthur Lawrence was in allowing Steve to take elements right out of the book and use it in the lyric writing. And that way, the lyrics were directly connected to this special linguistic fabric that Arthur Lawrence was creating. If West Side Story has a message to deliver to today's creative artists, it's that you can try to do something edgy, you can try for something scary and risky, you can push the envelope, you can do something controversial, something no one's ever done before, and you can still come up with a hit.